Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as you know by now, I'm passionate about broadcasting inspirational tech stories from all over the world. And it's a real privilege for me to have spoken to people in Tel Aviv, Ukraine, Estonia, Madrid, the US, all over the world, all talking about tech startup stories. But today I wanted to focus on another tech startup story, but in Dublin. Now, Charles Dowd is the CEO of Plynk, Europe's first money messaging app, which is on the foot of a €25 million or $28 million Series A raise earlier this month, which is one of the largest in Irish history. And Plynk are already beginning their expansion plans across Europe with the aim of becoming a verb in every European language. Essentially, with Plynk, users are able to send money to a name rather than an account number, turning that normally formal and uncomfortable task of transferring money into a transparent, instant, and also a social interaction. The intersection between social and payments is an area that Charles is avid on exploring, especially due to his experience at both Microsoft and Facebook, within the States and Ireland too. So buckle up, hold on tight, because it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Dublin so we can speak with Charles Dowd and Clive Foley from Plynk. So a massive warm welcome to the show, guys. Before we get started, can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Good. So my name is Clive Foley. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Plynk, together with Charles Dowd, who's also here with us today. So what I do is I write all the code with the team and I help them with all their technical challenges.
Cool. And so I'm Charles Dowd and I'm the CEO and co-founder along with Clive. And, we're building Plynk. Plynk is a money messenger, removes the sort of the awkwardness between people when it comes to sharing funds. And we're looking to make Plynk a verb in every language in the world, starting with Europe to begin with.
Now, before we talk about Plynk, I mean, you've got quite a rich history in tech. I mean, previously worked as a product manager at Facebook, for example. I mean, if anything you learned from those early days actually paved the way to Plynk?
Yeah, so, we're all a product of our experience and the things that we work on. So one of the things that I saw as I worked at Facebook was sort of the demise of the pure public sharing model and the move towards more simple, small groups, one-to-one, more private conversations, like the rise of messengers and kind of the drop-off, I guess, of the Twitters of the world. And that was really interesting to me because I was looking at the US was a product called Venmo, which is kind of like this peer-to-peer kind of payment product, which was very much kind of modeled around the Twitter model. And I felt that, that we really wanted to make something social and make it more relevant to today. We'd need to add payments inside messengers, because messengers is really where people understand private conversations and small group conversations, which is where sharing is going to. And that's a big thing that I learned, I think, from my time there.
So for anyone listening and hearing about Plynk for the first time today on this podcast, can you advise exactly what it is and what makes it different from other services out there, such as Ping It, for example, which immediately springs to mind?
So I think, as Charles hinted earlier on, the big thing for us is the chat and the conversation. As people go to smaller groups and they want to chat with their friends about things such as money, what really removes a lot of the stress and the tension from things is having visibility of the money moving. So if I owe you $10 for the pizza last night, or maybe for the taxi, we're having a conversation about it, I send it to you and it moves as fast as the text messages or anything else you may send, such as a picture, things like that. So it removes a lot of the stress. The challenge with some of the other kind of products that were introduced into the market maybe a couple of years ago is that visibility was lost. And it was kind of like, you say, if you're doing a bank transfer with a friend, there was always a lot of, I've already sent it, it must be your bank, it must be my bank. And without the visibility and without the fun aspect as well, which is a very important aspect, those products never really were successful and took off. And we think that's what's very unique about Plynk. We want it to be fast and free, but also to be fun. And the fun element is something we take very seriously.
Based in Dublin, Plynk has raised, I think it's €25 million or $28 million in a Series A fundraising round as it looks to roll out this messaging app globally. And this investment, if I'm right in saying this, I think, is one of the largest ever Irish Series A rounds. I mean, it must feel pretty special to put Ireland on the startup map like this. And also ask, is there also a thriving startup scene in Ireland right now?
Yeah, so Dublin and Ireland actually have a long history of obviously, a really large number of the, especially US-based multinationals have offices here. So maybe 90 of the top 100 actually are here with all different types of operations and technology and product development and so on. So there's a lot of great skills for us to pull on. So being in Dublin is really good for that. There are also lots of individual startups in this big entrepreneurial community, which we're all part of, which is also great. But the big thing for me is not so much that how much money we raise and whether it's big in Ireland, is that the way we looked at this was we should, from a sort of skills capability, we're obviously dependent on the people around us, and Dublin is great for that. From a market point of view, Dublin is actually, it's part of the EU, and from a licensing point of view, we can passport into 32 countries, which is great directly from Ireland. But when it comes to raising funds, we kind of took the view that we didn't want this to be about raising money in Ireland. This is actually raising money for a global play. It's a global brand. And we actually were competing at the same level as anybody else would be, whether they start in San Francisco or Istanbul or Australia, that we felt that we wanted to actually take the view that we were independent of where we were from an investment point of view, and we went at it in that way. So we don't kind of compare ourselves against other Irish startups. We actually compare ourselves against sort of the global market that we're in.
I recently remember reading in Wired magazine about how Plynk allows users to transfer money also with emojis and GIFs. So essentially Plynk is part messaging app and a part payment platform. I mean, was that something you set out to achieve right from the very beginning and remove all the hassle from transferring money?
Charles had actually the unique idea about the chat aspect of the whole thing. And when we actually sat down and looked at it and his unique experience from Facebook, we noticed that kind of people are very creative with how they communicate. It's not just flat text. And if you look at, we'll say, the Snapchat generation, people are actually becoming quite talented at telling stories with pictures. And it's actually kind of a little bit of a kind of a badge of honor to be really good at it. So one thing that we took very importantly when we were starting off is, okay, so how can we bring that aspect into the product, bring the fun in? So when you send money on Plynk, what you actually send is what we call a money message. And it's not just you typing in an amount in a kind of cold way and saying send €5 to Neil. It's actually, you can take photographs and you can put messages onto the photographs, and if you take a number of them together, we actually put it all in a GIF. So when you send it to someone, you're actually sending them a story, maybe a story of how the money was spent together. So maybe we were out, it was concert tickets, I took photos from the gig, I put it all together from the whole evening, and I sent it all to you. So it's kind of there's some sentiment in there, there's fun, there's elements of a memory of a social interaction that we had together with the money. And I think that was a really important thing that we felt that we had to have in the product to remove the coldness and maybe the staleness of just sending each other money.
What a cool feature that is. Oh, that's amazing. I honestly, I had no idea that you could actually do that. And it really brings something unique to the table, doesn't it, as well?
Yes, it does, because, it's kind of funny as well. If you're in a chat messenger, shall we say, and you want to talk about money and, you want to say, you owe me money for the pizza or the concert tickets, if you do it wrong and it's just about requesting money from friends and things like that, it can be almost like sending a friend an invoice, which is not very friendly. It can be, it's very businesslike and all that kind of stuff. And, the jokes begin, well, am I going to get a 30-day credit on this and all this kind of stuff? So kind of once you actually start to think of it as about fun, and it's just, we're all mates, this was a shared social experience that we all enjoyed together, and this is the slightly awkward bit where we all just kind of even up things again. If you just try and make that as seamless as possible, and as we say, fun, it actually can become an interesting product, and you can do interesting things there.
I mean, I love what you're doing here, and I love how you're making it seamless and ultimately fun too. But that's what everybody using the app will see on the surface. But I would imagine that underneath all that, you've been through some pretty big challenges and also encountered a number of challenges when removing that awkwardness and complexity associated with sending money to family and friends. I mean, could you talk about some of those that you've had to come across?
Yeah, maybe just if you think about simplicity. So people understand messengers really well. They know instinctively that a one-to-one conversation is private between those two people. They know that a group conversation with 4 or 5 people in it is also private to that group, but everybody within that group can see it. What they're doing in those two different scenarios is they're creating very complicated sort of like authority models from a technology point of view, where, you know, only the transactions in that group are visible to that group, or only the transactions in a one-to-one conversation are visible to that group. And that's a very complicated idea that's actually super simplified by actually using like a messenger platform. The simplicity of that hides all the complexity that sits underneath. You know, we have to be regulated. We have to deal with licensing. We have to deal with real money, real people's money. So it has to be secure. And then obviously from a technology point of view, we're saying it's fast, and, you know, we're saying it's fun and it's instant. So it has to be fast, right? So that actually, from a technology point of view, creates a lot of challenges to deliver. And messaging is a very complicated product to actually deliver and deliver well in a performant way. And money is also another complicated product to actually integrate with all the different systems and to make it work and be secure. And so we picked two really complicated things and put them together. And we hide all of the feet under the water, so to speak. You know, so we're like ducks gliding, you know, gracefully across the lake. But underneath, there's a lot of work to bring that all together.
So we've got listeners to this show in, I think, 150 countries at the moment. So I've got to ask, where is Plynk currently available, and what are your expansion plans for the next 18 months as you spread it around the world?
We took the early days of this. We decided that we would verify the product with a bunch of use cases and users and customers, and we did that in Ireland specifically, so that we would have proximate to us. We'd be able to have a lot of control over being able to go visit those users and actually get direct feedback from them and run focus groups. So that's where we began, and now we're actually at the phase where we're actually going to expand to the rest of Europe. We'll probably spend the next 18 months or so actually expanding to, at the very least, all the Eurozone countries and the UK. And then beyond that, we have another, sort of 10 or 11 countries that we could actually go to. And that's just the European view of the world. We want to be a global brand. We want to be a verb in every language in the world. And so we will, over time, essentially connect all the different legal regions together, and we'll hopefully be able to deliver instant and free money messaging to everybody. So that'd be great.
Excellent. Now, the countries that it is available in at the moment, can you just explain to the listeners how they can actually sign up to Plynk, what will be waiting for them, and how easy it is just to get up and running as quickly as possible?
Yeah, sure. So it's available on the App Store, and it's also on the Google Play Store, so just download it accordingly. What's waiting for you, I suppose, is there's a very nice login with Facebook button. And the reason we do that is if you were to sign into the service with Facebook, what we do in the background is we find all your Plynk friends, all your Facebook friends who are already on Plynk, and we kind of add them to your Plynk address book, for lack of a better word. So kind of you can come into the app and you can see, oh, wow, all these people I know are already here. The other kind of cool thing that we worked really hard to do is actually to simplify the process for creating the payment account. Because the other cool thing about Plynk is we actually issue you with a payment account that has a real BIC and IBAN connected into the real banking system. And we also issue you with a Mastercard against that card. And to do that, we need a little bit of information once you sign into the app. So what happens is PlynkBot, which is one of our automated bots, he starts chatting to you in a conversation. And he welcomes you to the platform, and he tells you what he's going to ask you and why he needs it. And he asks you three very simple questions. What's your name, what's your date of birth, and what's your address? And once we have those three pieces of information, we can issue you with the account that I mentioned and the card against that account instantly. And that, as I said, that takes something like 10 to 15 seconds to actually make it all happen once you've answered the questions. So you have a lot of friends waiting for you, and you actually have an account which can receive money and can be topped up, and you actually have a card which allows you to spend money that your friends have sent you online anywhere Mastercard is accepted.
So if I wanted to transfer some money to a friend or a family member now, so I assume that my friends, they also have to be signed up to the platform too, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And if you're Facebook friends, they will just magically appear inside your Plynk contact list straight away.
Cool. So is there a certain amount of persuading your friends to sign up to it? So if they've got somebody on my Facebook friends list, I can see they're in there and I'll send them a message. Does that just prompt them to sign up straight away?
Yeah, so we have an option inside the app, which is to invite a friend.
Yeah.
And what that does is it gives you a unique link for yourself, and then you can drop that into anywhere you can send links to your friend, whether it's any other messenger you use or SMS or something like that. And if they were to click that link, they come all the way through the system via the app store that they use, and all the way through the install. And the cool thing about that actually is if you're not a Facebook friend with that person and you share them the link, well, once they land inside our app, we actually connect you and that person together inside your Plynk address book. So you're able to invite people that you might not be friends with on Facebook or something like that. You know, if you've just met somebody somewhere for coffee, or if you've just bumped into somebody at a social event, you can just share your Plynk link with them and get chatting to them there and then.
Oh, fantastic. So I've got to ask, what's next for Plynk? I mean, how do you see that service evolving over the next few years? Obviously, expansion is going to be the main thing.